All right, guys, welcome back to Booze Come in Pairs. We are the pair again. We're out of guests, but just a big thank you to the last two that we've had, Sean Harling and Jessica Kleinschmidt. I've been following Oregon baseball now. It's fun to see they had their first series down in Texas. Different uniform every day. So even though Sean was like, "Oh, we're not uniform you," guess what, man? You had a different one every day, and you looked good doing it. So fun to see that, and fun to see Oakland getting underway too. But we've just had a really good string of guests, and now we just get to air our frustrations about our back to reality baseball teams.
Yeah, and echoing what you said, Brandon. We do have a new college baseball team to follow. Again, so blessed to have had Sean on and kind of gone into just the different things that it takes to be a director of operations at the collegiate level, big time school like Oregon. Cool to see them playing at Globe Life Field, playing against really good teams to start off. Had a big win in the season opener against OU, another big comeback win against Baylor, and then they were scratching and clawing back against Texas Tech, who's ranked, but ultimately ended up falling short. But I'm sure it was such a great experience for those guys. All the programs that participated in that Lone Star tournament that they had down there, just super cool. And yeah, we'll for sure be following the Ducks. And then same with Jess, just so great to have had her on. Learning more about her journey, her getting to work and just interact with many different faces in the organization that she grew up watching in the athletics. So we'll keep an eye on our A's, of course, because of our buddy Mr. Noda, but for Jess as well, just hoping that she continues to grow in her career and gets to have these important conversations and also with her podcast too. So again, super thankful for our guests, every single one of them that we had on in the off season. But as Brandon alluded to, it is officially baseball season. We're kicked off. Pitchers and catchers have reported. Several, I mean, not even several, dozens of guys have gone down early to get live BP reps, get fielding reps, and just kind of soak in the summer vibes.
We're at full squad right now,
Yeah,
except for if you're a Boris client,
yes,
which
for
is
sure.
so frustrating. It just, especially where the Cubs are at, the entire squad's there. You're like, oh no, they're there. If you're there, you're there. And I'm sorry, the Cubs are not inspiring me right now. I'm very frustrated.
No, and I wanna talk about that. I wanna start off with an interesting article. Not even an article. It was a post that I read. Former pitcher, big league pitcher, first round draft pick, Jacob Turner. I'm sure a lot of baseball fans remember him. He was a high first round draft pick, I believe, seventh overall by the Tigers. Spent several years in the major leagues and minor leagues. Pitched for the Tigers, the Marlins, the Cubs for a couple years, White Sox, Nationals. Kind of a journeyman, relief type pitcher later in his career. Did some starting as well. Pitched in the KBO. Now he is a financial advisor. Advises athletes on their next move. I follow him on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and he came out with this post that I'm just going to read for everybody because I found it very, very interesting. Just the approach to free agency and trading for guys, and just what teams do, what they're expecting to do, what fans expect them to do. So I'm just going to read it word for word because again, it really caught me in a good point in my fandom, and I just think it's something that people should hear, and they'll kind of sympathize with what he's saying. This is a guy who's been through it all. Like he had a 10+ year big league career, so he kind of knows what he's talking about. So he starts it off. He says, "A Cy Young winner and a Silver Slugger unsigned as spring training starts. A breakdown of the state of MLB free agency. The urgency teams show to sign top MLB free agents rivals that of a kid chasing butterflies. If you get one, great, but if not, you can just tell the story of how you tried over and over again. The issue isn't an economic one. Team values increased by an average of 12% in 2023, with the average MLB franchise valued at more than 2.32 billion. The issue is teams not trying. Seriously, as we head into spring training, you could argue half of the clubhouses or more have no chance of winning the World Series.
Yep.
The spending gap. The Dodgers have shelled out more than $1 billion in free agency. 6 other teams have spent between $99 million and $172 million. Everyone else has spent less than $50 million, with the Chicago Cubs, valued at more than $4 billion, having spent next to nothing. Like a kid chasing a butterfly, they love to tell a good story. They have tried, are invested in the best guys, and have provided market value offers valuations. Yet they are telling stories, not having caught anything. The mix of all-stars, Cy Young winners, and World Series champions still available is dizzying. As a fan of the game, I wish more teams focused on assembling the best roster, not continuing to tell their fans wild stories.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Jake, if you ever listen to this, we would love to have you on to have a conversation, obviously, about your playing career and your post-playing career, but just captivating thoughts like this. Because as a baseball fan, and you are now a baseball fan as well, we are feeling this, and that hit me to my core. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's exactly what Jed's been doing the last 3 months, just telling us this narrative of like, be patient. You know, we're rebuilding. We're doing like, shut up and spend some money and get Cody Bellinger. Like it's getting to that point where I'm just like, you're backed into a corner with this roster where you literally have to sign every remaining free agent to look like a World Series contender. Otherwise, you're not building one. I don't care what you're doing. You might get lucky and get a couple guys that click, but this roster is not a world. You're like you said, they are not built to win the World Series. So if you're not chasing that, what are you doing? And they've just done absolutely nothing to address it. And they're saying, oh yeah, you know, the market's bad, or oh, we have prospects on the way. We have the number 1 farm system. Guess what? That does not matter when you're winning a World Series. No one cares about your farm system because those are all guys in the minor league. So like, it's not inspiring. You're right. It's not convincing. It doesn't make me excited to watch. Like Jeremy said, like what makes you excited about the Cubs? Nothing. This is not exciting. Christopher Morel taking reps at third base is not exciting for me.
It scares me.
Scared, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't have a third. They don't. Yeah.
Michael Busch at first base. Peralta, left. That's your lefty bat now. Dominic Smith is your next first baseman. Like, what are you? What are we doing?
Yeah, they don't have a first baseman or a third baseman, and it just is the same issue over and over again. Like, we were spoiled with Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, having them for as many years as we had them together, being actual people who fit the bill at the position. Now those are not positions that you want to be patching together. These are the heavy hitters in your lineup are at those positions. And the thing it just makes me frustrated for is that, I mean, you have Dansby Swanson, you have people who come from winning organizations. That's why they're here. They're not in Chicago to just have a good time. They're here to win every year. They're here to be competitive every year. They're here and he's been vocal about that. He was vocal about it when he came here. When during CubsCon, he's like, yeah, like, just got to get Belly back. Just got to do this. Just got to make these moves. Like, when you're coming from those winning organizations, those teams that spend, those teams that do all those things, like when your team is not doing them, I mean, I just wonder where their heads are at. They're leaders in the clubhouse, but I just wonder where they're at. They're going to do their best and they're going to try their best to win, but they're where things sit now. They are not a better team than they were last year. They are a worse team roster-wise. You got a new manager, which is great. That's an upgrade. You added to your starting pitching depth. You got a proven reliever, which is good. 1 proven reliever. You need about 4, but no improvements to the offense at all. That scare anybody.
Why? That's a great point, though. Why do you sign Dansby Swanson, who is a winner, and then not try to win? That makes no sense. Why would you not continue to add? It's like when they signed, say, a Suzuki 3 years ago, and it's like, why are they doing that? Like, this team obviously is not competing. Why would you add a guy like that? Oh, it's for later. Well, it's later. Now we just wasted 1 year of Dansby Swanson, and you're looking at wasting a second. and now he's getting on the wrong side of his late 20s. Is he 30? Whatever he is.
Yeah, he's not 30 yet.
But like that, you're wasting time. I don't know
Yeah.
why there should be a season that the Cubs, with their payroll and how much money they bring in, how much Wrigleyville brings in, why you should not be putting the best roster on the field. Why are you not? I get it. Why you don't want to spend Dodger money. I know why you don't want to be in the luxury tax. That's fine. But like you said, they've spent no money this offseason, the least amount possible. The Rays have probably spent more money than them this offseason.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Their second biggest contract, which doesn't go towards the luxury tax, is their manager. Emanaga's one, and number 2 is Mr. Council.
Yeah. And the
I
other
don't
team
understand.
that's doing the same thing is, and there was an article this week that you were going to allude to, but the Red Sox are doing the same thing. It makes you lock up a guy like Devers, and now he's frustrated. He's like, hey, get me some help. It's a 9-player game, right? And you sign Liam Hendricks this week, who's not going to pitch till August. What does that do for you? That does nothing.
They also signed Michael Fulmer, who's not going to pitch at all this year.
Right. That's
they signed Lucas. They signed signed Lucas Giolito. Like they're not.
That's like the Brewers signing
team,
Woodruff. Like that does nothing for your roster this year. Since
they won the World Series in 2018, they have taken a step backward every single year. I would argue that the Red Sox evaluation is probably right up there with the Cubs. They're probably worth around $4 billion. Theo Epstein just came back to the Fenway. I think it's the Fenway Sports Group with John Henry. So he's got a lot of say and a lot of pull with Henry and the owners and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that, but they're also kind of tied in with the Patriots and tied in with the Celtics, and I think they're tied in with some other sports
Manchester
franchises.
United, I think they're a part of. So.
Yeah, there's a football team that they're tied to as well. But yeah, the Red Sox are the same. They're just confusing to me. They're like the Cubs of the American League. They're just, you have this name, you have this historic ballpark, you have this passionate fan base. You have the money to spend. Right. I know the Red Sox have had that pedigree over in the past to overpay guys, and they've had contracts not pan out. As does everybody. I mean, the Carl Crawfords and the Pablo Sandovals, like those hurt. And I actually did see Sandoval's looking pretty good. The Giants signed at 37. The Giants signed it. He's looking slim. He's looking trim, and he's looking ready to roll.
So last spring training, they signed Sergio Romo. And it ended up being like, I'm just going to do the spring, and then that's my farewell tour. They go, this is not a farewell tour. That he wants to play, and he's going to try and be on the roster. But it's just, you know what? When you're Milwaukee and you don't have the cap and you don't have the room and you're a small market team, you have to hit on those free agents, right? They let Prince Fielder walk a long time ago. They signed Ryan Braun to a really team-friendly deal. That's the chips. Like, that's where they put their chips for that one, right? They can't afford to have these disastrous contracts go poorly because, they just don't have the room for it. The Cubs do. You can have Jason Hayward on your roster for 8 years and eat that money and essentially have him give you no production. You can have Alfonso Soriano and at the end have no production. That does not hurt you. That does not prevent you from signing someone else and making a team next year. It's just, it doesn't make sense why, even if you're wrong, it's still the right move.
Yeah.
And it's not like they did it last year.
Yeah.
We've been through the rebuild. We've been through a second rebuild now. You're not in a rebuilding phase. You're in a go-win phase, and they're doing nothing about it. It's so maddening. And I feel like everything I've said tonight has been quite frustrated, but that's because I'm frustrated. That's because I'm sick of that we were talking about this in October about how Cody Bellinger isn't, signed for this year. And that was our first podcast was like, hey, what are the Cubs doing next? And it's like, we still have not signed Cody Bellinger. And if you don't get him, you're an even worse team. You're not even what you were last year. You're a worse team.
Yeah.
So
they are not there. They were one game out of the playoffs, and the guy was your best bat. Yep. He was your best overall player in 2023, and he's still out there. Yep. And there's a lot of guys still out there that can help you be a competitor, can help you win. Yeah, I don't have a lot of, and I feel more than anything, I do feel bad for the players, but I feel bad for Craig Counsell. It's like
Yeah.
he's here and he's wanting to win and he wants to be part of this, and you got to get the guy some help. Get him some help.
And Scott Boras is hard to work with, but
Mm-hmm.
he also, the reason why players love him is because he gets these mega contracts, and maybe Major League Baseball on these remaining guys, is Bauer a Boris guy? Probably not anymore.
No. Bauer's agent is Rachel Luba.
Okay.
So yeah, he is not a Boris
But
client.
Snell, Bellinger, Chapman are all Boris clients, and Montgomery.
JD Martinez.
And JD Martinez? Okay, 5 guys.
Yeah.
You know what? And I would argue the Cubs need to sign all 5. You know, like that's you've backed yourself into a corner.
At least 3.
Split them with
At
the
least
Red
3 or
Sox,
4.
because those are the 2 teams that haven't bought anybody. Like, if you split those 5 guys between the Red Sox and the Cubs, I don't think they're winning the World Series. So it's like you're just backed in this corner where it's like, well, we'll wait and see. Maybe PCA hits a little, but like, I don't like that. I don't like that plan. I don't like that strategy, and I don't think that's a win now mentality. That's a win maybe.
Yeah, I would feel better with PCA and center if Chapman and Bellinger were at the corners.
Sure. Sign me
like up. That way, Pete will go out and he will be the best defensive center fielder in the game, and that includes Pilar and Kiermaier and whoever else is patrolling center field for anybody. Pete Crow Armstrong is an 80 out of 80 on the defensive metric for grading players. He is that much of a difference maker in the outfield. He's going to make you that much better, but allow him to just allow the bat to come along, allow him to like hit ninth. If you have a thunderous lineup 1 through 8 or 1 through 7, you can afford to have him struggle and learn the game.
Yeah.
When he's being counted on big time, it's not going to work out too well.
As it stands right now, Ian Happ once again is your 3 hitter, and Seiya Suzuki is your 4 hitter.
Yeah.
No, like just no. Like that is not a good roster. That is not a good team. That is not if you sign Bellinger and Chapman, which they won't do, but if you do that, there's your 3 and 4 hitter. And then you put those other 2 guys anywhere else. But and then the pressure slides down, and you put PCA in center maybe, or rotate him with Bellinger or whatever, because you want to keep Bellinger healthy. If he plays first base, he'll probably be more healthy. Cool.
He'll be more healthy.
Put him there, and then you shuffle it around, and then there's no pressure on him to hit.
Well, you spot him with Talkman too, because Talkman's got another year deal. Spot PCA with Talkman. Have him learn from a veteran who's been doing it for a long time. You can play him.
I love Mike Talkman because of the story. I like Mike Talkman because he's just a hard player. He's not going to win you a World Series. He can be on a roster that wins a World Series. Like we talk about all these great guys, Tony Kemp, Jace Peterson, great guys, right? He can be a part of it. He is not your center fielder starting game 1 of the World Series. That is just not who he is. And that's fine. But it's Matt, I don't even know how to express it. I'm livid at the situation they're in, and there's nothing unless they open the wall, but it's just not going to happen. Now you got the Yankees talking to Blake Snell. And I don't even want Blake Snell, but the fact that
they already offered him a contract.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it's just everyone.
5 years, 150, but he wants north of 200, like all of them want.
9 years, 150.
He wants 5 years, 150.
5 years.
Or they offered him 5 years, 150, but he wants north of 200 for 7.
Right.
So he's looking for a 7, 210, but he's 30, 31 years old. So, before we get to that next part, so the thing with the Cubs is that you don't want to block your prospects. You want them to be able to develop. You want them to be able to get meaningful at bats and all this stuff. But the thing is, the Cubs do have a top 3 farm system, top 5 farm system, if not the top farm system. They have a lot of really, really good players, but these guys are not going to be ready. Owen Cassie is still a few years away. James Triantos is still a few years away. Matt Shaw is still a few years away. Your horse pitchers, Cade Horton and Ben Brown, they're still a few years away. They could pitch this year, possibly near the end. Both of them, Cade Horton was a college pitcher, and Ben Brown has been in the organizations. He got drafted out of high school, and he's like 23 or 24, or maybe even 25 now. I don't know how old he is. They're fireballers. They could be ready at the end of this year, but I don't think they're going to be the guys to give you the big innings like you need. And then all these other like younger guys, all the highly touted Cubs prospects, most of them will not be ready for a couple years. So to me, like Jacob Turner said, you owe it to your fan base. You owe it to your players who you promised things to, who are in the prime of their career. You owe it to them to assemble the best roster possible. You should be trying to win the World Series every single year if you're the Cubs. You just should be. That's what you should be doing.
Well, just look at what Texas just did. They bought that team, and they said those are not prospects. Jordan Montgomery was not their prospect. He was a Cardinal guy. It's just. Adolis Garcia was a Cardinal guy, but like they're plucking these guys off. They got Seager, they got Simeon, they got just Evaldi pitching for the like Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
Like you went out and bought that entire roster.
Yes.
You're not if you're competing, you are not waiting for your prospects to come up. You're using those prospects to buy major league ready talent because you're ready to win now.
And you spot a few guys, right? Like Josh Young is their guy, Evan Carter was their guy. But Jonah Heim was not a guy that they developed. Like he was in the A's organization. Like they traded for Jonah Heim. Yeah. He kind of came out and had a Taveras was not. I don't think Taveras in center field was their guy either. But like most of those people, it was an assembled roster. It was not a bunch of homegrown talent. They do have some very exciting young players coming up. Like they have one of the best minor league outfielders in the game, Wyatt Langford on their team. He's going to be coming through soon, so they're even more scary. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Texas absolutely proved it. Like, hey, we went out and got the best shortstop and the best second baseman in that offseason, and we even questioned it. We're like, why the heck did they go to Texas? Well, Chris Young had something brewing, and they capitalized on it.
When you have a good core roster, you can put guys like Josh Young in there, who was an all-star this year, and they can thrive because it's not like they're being dependent upon. The current Cubs roster, you're depending on potentially Michael Busch and whoever you want to throw there on a random day at third base. And it's just like, what is that? I don't know what that is. Like that's just
right now it's Patrick Wisdom and Nick Madrigal, which we already rode this ride. It was it's like Christopher Morel. Like come on, man.
Right.
So before we get too frustrated, I wanna kind of loop back. I wanna loop back to just the state of free agency and just kind of what it is moving forward. So we were talking about Scott Boras a couple minutes ago. He's kind of a hard-nosed dude. He goes out and he gets the biggest possible contract for his guys. Teams and front offices have just they've been very open about how they feel about his tactics. His guys seem to like him, of course. So talking about just like the length of contracts and teams just kind of, unless it's a really special guy, not wanting to go beyond a certain year mark. Like we're not getting those 10, 13, 12, 13-year contracts anymore just because these teams know that these players are not going to be that player who's worth that money at the end. I think teams are really capping things at like a 3 to 5 year deal. I think Dansby got a 5-year deal, but even like 7 years. I mean, I was talking about this with someone earlier today. Like if you're signing, you're 28 years old like Bellinger, or you're 30 like somebody else, and you sign a 7-year deal, like you're going to be 35, 37 by the time that thing's done. And you're not going to be that same guy unless you're a freak like Justin Verlander or David Ortiz or Adrian Beltre, these guys who perform well into their late 30s and early 40s. You're just not going to do it. So like, what are your thoughts about just like the landscape of contracts? And like, are we going to be seeing more like play for it deals, like 1-year deals, 2-year deals, 3-year deals, kind of capping out at 5. I think the long deal is a thing of the past unless it's a really special player like Shohei Ohtani or someone like that.
Yeah. I Players are playing longer than they ever have, which is part of it. But I completely agree. Yeah. How do you give a guy a contract, even a Mookie Betts? How do you give him 10 years right now if his contract expires when he's 40? Yeah. How do you project that, right? We see it with Albert Pujols. I was like, okay, of course you should give him a 12-year contract, right? It's so incredibly long, and by the end of it, you're just reeling. But you're playing for the now. You're playing for what this person can bring you on today's roster. I think when you see guys sitting out there like they are the Boris clients that want the long deals, they're going to end up probably settling for something less in terms of years, but maybe more money. If you're the player, why do you want? I don't understand that. Why do you need 10 years? If I give you all the money that I was going to give you in a 10-year contract and a 5-year contract, would you take that?
Yeah.
Like, is that the problem? Is that where the disconnect is? Or do you want the assurance that I'm going to be in the game for 10 years if I want to? Maybe that's what they're chasing. I don't mind that the Cubs are not willing to do the Alfonso Soriano deal again. I don't mind that they're not willing to do the years, but pony up the cash. I think they're being too stingy. So if it's a cash issue, that's where I have a problem with it. The years, I am skeptical of the years because you look at Steven Strasburg, and the Nationals are going through, and of course it's like Blackhawk fever where it's like you win and it's like, of course we have to sign this guy. Like, we have to sign everybody. We can't let anybody leave. And they chose Strasburg, who is already injury prone. And now they're bickering over who his last check is being written to. And because he's probably on their payroll for another 3 years, and he hasn't thrown a ball in at least 3 years. So it's basically 6 years of waste for pitchers is tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of your money gets tied up in that. And you see that. The Nationals are brutal right now. They have some young talent, but they can't do anything because they're so hamstrung.
Yeah. Well, the way that I get it, and talking with Ryan and just knowing his story and what he went through, in the minor leagues, and you don't make a lot of money. You just don't. So when you finally get to the pros and you get that first pro contract, even if it's the minimum, that's more money than a lot of them have ever seen. Right. But I think about some of these veterans, Cody Bellinger just got $17.5 million to play baseball for 1 year, and that will set you for life.
Yeah.
So I think that all these guys have so much money that they don't even know what to do with. It's why not take why not get a 3-year deal? Why not take a 5-year deal? Why do you have to get why do you need $210 million? For my family, it's going to change. Your life has already changed. You're a professional athlete. Right. I understand it's expensive being a professional athlete. They take half your money. The government takes half your money, so you don't get all of that. But again, man, say you even take home half of it. So you take home $9 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
I think it would be interesting to see someone who's out of the game maybe talk about it, where it's hey, no, it is about the years. I want the assurance. I want my family to be stable. Because again, we talked to our only baseball coach is Ryan Noda, but he's I haven't been in the same place for more than 6 months in the past 6 years. And that's just the nature of it. And maybe they want stability. Maybe they want more of that, we all have our 9 to 5 or whatever, and we're doing the same thing over and over. Maybe they want that, I'm going to be in Toronto for 10 years. I'm going to be in Anaheim for 10 years. And just that's more reassuring sometimes than, how much money they're getting. Because I can't imagine when you're getting $200 million, you don't care. What's the difference between $200 and $100 million? It's $10 to you. So
yes, exactly.
It's got to be something more than just the money. It's got to be stability, or it's got to be, I want my no trade clause, or I want control over my life. Because a lot of these guys just are being controlled by organizations. Mm-hmm. And for Ryan, it's when he gets his first contract, I'm sure that'll be so relieving because he's still making league minimum, which is great. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy that he's not making the minor league contract anymore. But when he signed, because he'll get that first contract with somebody whether it's Oakland or they just let him walk, and then he's teams want him. It's
They do.
not disputed. He'll get, even if it's $10 million, dude, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome for him. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's gotta be something more.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see how this shakes out. Again, there's a lot of players out here, like we talked about, Snell, Montgomery, Bellinger, Tim Anderson. There's a lot of talent. I mean, Tim Anderson's going to get a
Miami, I
contract from
saw was
someone.
Tim Anderson.
Yeah,
but
they're gonna. There's a lot of Chapman. There's a lot of guys out there. Another guy who is intriguing, and I don't understand why he hasn't been signed yet, is Trevor Bauer.
yeah,
It's very
I know
confusing.
why, but I don't know why at the same time. He just wants to pitch.
What's confusing to me more than anything is that the accusations were false. First of all, but there are players who are playing on rosters, like take Marcelo Zuna, for example,
Yeah.
who's been in lots of trouble and he's still on the field. He's still doing it. So it's like, I don't know if it's deeper than that or they're trying to make an example out of Trevor Bauer, but what I see is we are being deprived of watching one of the best pitchers in this game.
Yeah.
And he was finally coming into his own. Like Trevor Bauer was a very, very an excellent collegiate pitcher. He had a little bit of the early years in his pro career. It was just kind of weird. You're like, this guy's got great stuff. Like, why isn't he doing well? And then he finally figured something out near the end of his career with Cleveland and in Cincinnati when he won the Cy Young. And he was dominating with LA before he got suspended. And he hasn't been back since. And he dominated in Korea. He's still one of the best out there.
The problem is he's been on 4 different teams now. And when you're that talented and you keep getting bounced around, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
He's a great pitcher. Believe me, if it was just based on, if I was playing a video game and there was no clubhouse drama around it and there was no conversation, because guess what? Baseball is a long game, 180 days in a row, you're with the same people. If I can trust that he's going to come in the locker room and not be a problem, again, you don't pitch for 4 organizations and win a Cy Young and then you keep getting moved around because you're bad. There's something else.
I think he was, so he got drafted by Arizona and he got traded to Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I think he was a free agent and he signed. I don't think he got. I need to look this up, but I don't think he got traded to Cincinnati. I think he just signed a contract with them, and then even with LA, he chose to sign I think it was a 3-year, $90 million contract. He chose to sign a shorter contract. So I don't necessarily know if he's a bad teammate. It doesn't seem like he is. I just know he's a little bit quirky. He's an interesting guy. He's got a lot of thoughts about different things. He's got his different, just a different way he prepares his throwing program. But again, all things considered, the guy wants to compete and he wants to win, and he's got great stuff, and he's willing to earn it. And he has been on several podcasts, several shows. Yeah. Saying that he just wants a chance. He just wants an opportunity, and I really hope someone gives it to him because, again, I love watching the guy pitch, and I want to see him pitch, and I think he deserves a chance. He deserves a second chance.
I would not be opposed. I'm being a devil's advocate with it, but I would not be opposed to either team that we like or any team that I like. Give him a contract. He wants to pitch, so let him pitch. Yes. He's a good pitcher.
Yes.
And he would raise the velocity of the right-handers on the Cubs significantly. So,
yes.
I have no qualms about that. Is there I feel like the answer is Bellinger, but is there a free agent that if the Cubs do not sign him, then it's panic mode?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm frustrated, but these guys also haven't been signed, so maybe there's just something to that. What's the dagger for that? Is it third base? Is it Christian Morel starting third base? Or?
So for me personally, it's kind of a tie between Bellinger and Chapman. Mm-hmm. I think first base the Cubs can figure out, but third base is such an important position. And even if Chapman doesn't hit for average, which he's really not an average hitter, he's more of a doubles and maybe 15 to 25 homer guy. He's capable of hitting 30, but the glove is just something that you can't teach, and that guy's glove is platinum. I think signing him for 2 or 3 years really catapults you forward, and you can figure out first base. There's still looming rumors that the Cubs are going to end up with Pete Alonso, whether it's this year or next year when he hits free agency. He's a top 3 candidate for the Cubs to ink. He's going to be a free agent if he does not get a deal worked out. So I think for me, it's more, I would lean more towards a guy like Chapman just because of how special his glove is and just the potential to sign Alonso to a longer contract.
I'm not opposed to that, but why does that prevent you from spending money now? It makes
Yeah.
no sense. And also, I'm sorry, Pete Alonso has not been very good offensively the last couple of years. So he's kind of fallen off.
He's been hitting bombs. That's about it. He's not hitting.
No.
Yeah.
He's hitting nothing else. It's
Yeah.
almost because we ran Kyle Schwarber out for not hitting for an average, but he hit
Mm-hmm.
homers. It's like, well, that's not good enough for Wrigley Field. It's because we're just so hyper focused on these average numbers, which I enjoy. I like a high average.
Yeah.
But Pete Alonso is not that guy.
No, he's not.
he
He hasn't been able to do it consistently.
No.
Consistently, at least.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
My panic meter would probably. I agree. It's if you have a rotation of Nick Madrigal, Patrick Wisdom, and Christopher Morel at third base, opening day.
Yeah, not good.
Panic meter. That's not acceptable. I
No.
don't accept that as you are trying to win. I accept that as you're doing another gap year. And if things work out, it's just because they worked out, not because you planned it.
They got lucky. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Yep.
Yeah. I have words for Jed, but that's fine. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it'll be an ongoing conversation until the season starts. And it's not going to be the last time we talk about this. Hopefully, there's some good news that comes along with it. If there's not, we'll just have to hope that some kind of stars align and there's the right formula there, and guys step up and guys exceed expectations and all that.
I refresh the trade rumors app like 3 times a day, like just at certain intervals. Like maybe there's something, and then it's like, oh, like when last week I saw it was Peralta and Dominic Smith. I'm like. And they're minor league contracts, but I'm just like, this is not who you need to focus on.
No.
But
well, kind of how I put it in our group chat with the boys. It's just it kind of reminds me of the Hosmer and Mancini signings. It's like, well, man, and by the way, Eric Hosmer retired today, which is crazy. I mean, he's still younger, but yeah, when you're done, you're done. But it kind of reminded me of those. It's like 2 guys who have performed in their careers and solid veterans, not necessarily people who I'd want starting for me, but good guys on a roster. If they can contribute, they can contribute. Right. But yeah, they're not the guys who strike fear into me if I'm an opposing pitcher or opposing team.
And 2 guys that weren't on the roster come July. So it's just like, I thought they kind of gave Eric Hosmer a raw deal because he was doing okay. And there's like, Matt Mervis. And it's like, and then Matt Mervis didn't do anything. It's like, Mancini can play first. No, he can't. So it's just, it just lacks, I don't know. Spring training has started. You have games on Friday for the Cubs. You have games tomorrow for some teams. You need to finalize your roster. I just don't, this is not adding Dexter Fowler to the 2016 Cubs. And
no.
Like, oh, look, guys, we brought Dex back. And like, now we're a cohesive unit. This is, what is our plan? What does the construct of our team look like?
Yep.
Because you're literally looking for the heart and soul of your team, which would be a Bellinger or a Matt Chapman. Those guys set the tone. Dansby's great, but like, yeah.
Nico's great.
Did you see their nickname? Nico and Dansby.
Nickel and Dimes. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Nico Horner, you know what? I will continue. He is so much fun. I was in the car last week, and it was like I was going to a golf simulator, but Nico Horner's going to be on at 10. Well, our virtual tee time was at 10. I'm like, I would have waited in the car, but I didn't have to. So, but oh well.
Okay. Speaking of spring training, this is the talk of the town right now. we are talking new jerseys. There has been some scrutiny from players and from fans. So
Yeah.
what do you know? What have you heard? What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far? I've done a little bit of research,
Yeah.
read some articles myself, but yeah, what's the initial thought? What have you heard?
I'm wondering what Etsy person they're buying these from, and whose garage they're printing these out of. It's shocking to see the lack of quality and like, oh,
Yeah,
we're introducing this new player. Here's his brand new jersey, and it's like crimped and folded in all the wrong directions, and it's already like half shrunken. I'm like, how is that
yeah,
possible? How do you make
yeah,
a jersey that cost probably $300 look absolutely horrible, especially a Nike product? And it's I
yeah,
know it's Fanatics is like taking over, and like their quality is lesser, but like man, I need some Majestic back in my life because
yeah,
those were so good for so long, and now we're just getting weird versions of, and the
yeah,
lettering's weird and smaller,
yes,
and it reeks amateur.
yeah. So the funny thing is, the Fanatics and Nike combination. So Nike is responsible for the design, and Fanatics is responsible for the manufacturing. Fanatics actually purchased Majestic, I believe, in 2017. So they are in the old factory in Pennsylvania manufacturing these jerseys, the old Majestic factory. So so this has been a combination effort, and like Nike's design, like the things that they have done, that they've the body scanning, the interview, the continuous interviewing of players to get a feel for like what they like and what they don't like all the things that they've taken into account to design things. Like I guess the feel or the goal behind these was to make this more of a just like a breathable like performance type jersey that a player could really feel comfortable in, that could feel like a second skin, feel like a comfortable t-shirt that you're wearing. And that was the goal. And like you even have guys like in spring training now, they actually debuted the jerseys, the Nike Vapor Fit. Yeah, the Nike Vapor jersey is what the prototype and what the actual jersey is. But they debuted them at the All-Star game last year, and players really liked the feel. They liked all of it. Now they're kind of, even there's some guys now who like, oh, I really like how it feels, and I guess it's something new to get used to. But then there's other guys where it's like, this feels like crap. This feels cheap. The MLB logo is stitched upside down for some fans. I think more than like there's been some players who have been outspoken about it. There's been some in both directions who really like them and really don't. But the fans are the ones who feel like they're being cheated because this is something that we buy to represent our team. This is a nicer piece of clothing. I'm looking for quality. I'm looking for stitch work. I'm looking for just this to be something that looks and feels authentic. And like they said, it feels like a cheap replica jersey. The players who have not liked them say it feels like a cheap replica jersey. Like I saw like on the Braves uniform, they said like on the piping on the shoulder is like in a spot that feels like super uncomfortable. Like it's usually like closer to being down or closer to being further up, and it's in this weird position. So
Yeah.
guys just don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't, and that's kind of what it's coming down to.
I have one authentic. It's Majestic. I have one authentic jersey. It was probably the year before they switched. Is why I got a deal on it. The quality between the
Is it the Bryant one?
Chris Bryant, yeah, but like the quality of the authentic jersey to the replica is there's no comparison. The way it fits, it just fits better. It looks better. You have much better patches. If they're comparing those to replica jerseys and like the feel, and I think they're like heat pressed in a lot of situations, it's just
Yeah.
that is not what you would expect from
Yeah.
the
Well,
jerseys, and it's just funny.
like the shoulder patch, they said before it's like you could see the stitching,
Yeah,
and then now it's just like whip,
yeah,
like
yeah,
like not good.
yeah.
And the other thing that I've heard, I know Tommy Canley, the Yankees pitcher, and there's been a couple other pitchers who've been pretty outspoken about the pants too. The
Mm.
pants just don't fit as well. They just feel tighter, not as like stretchy and loose. You don't want to feel tight or uncomfortable out there. You want this to feel
Well,
like it's your skin.
it's funny because like watching Oregon and just seeing their uniforms every day of that series, they look a little tight. They look a
Yeah,
little snug, we'll say. I
yeah,
think that's always kind of been the MO with Nike. And again, if you're trying to make it feel like that, but yeah, if your players aren't feeling that, there should be some flexibility and option to do whatever. Didn't Chris Sale on those White Sox jerseys at one time? He's like, he cut the sleeves off because they were like restricting or
yeah,
whatever. Like,
yeah,
yeah, if your players don't like wearing it, it should be adjustable to that. But
yeah,
I think just even the appearance of the way things look. Yeah, you move the MLB logo down below the collar line, which is weird. I don't know.
yeah.
There's just a lot of weird features, and it's not definitely not that I'm going to buy a Cubs jersey right now because I'm just heated and angry. But it's not inspiring me to go out and spend $170 on one of these jerseys.
And it's like, I guess, what size jersey would you wear normally? Would you wear a large or would you wear a medium? I mean,
Yeah,
to
depends.
me, I'm kind of floating between that medium and large
Yeah,
for pants and for shirts. I have like a longer torso, so I think. But like the thing about like these jerseys and just all the like they've spent a long time, like years researching. Like I said, doing these body scans, like figuring out body types, like tailoring them to the exact metrics of these players, and for them to just not like how they feel. Again, some people are in the camp. Like I've seen Mike Trout says he loves them. Nolan Arenado, Adley Rushman, they've all been pretty outspoken about like, hey, I really like how this feels, how this fits. I feel like I move better. But yeah, other guys like Miles Michaelis is like, yeah, this feels like cheap crap. Like I don't like it.
yeah.
It's not great. These are just some of the guys that I
Well,
saw commented in the articles. I think I saw Michael Chavis. Like there was some article about him. I think they messed something up, and I think he had like tweeted at Fanatics, and they responded to him like a customer request. Oh, please DM us for this. Like I'm a professional baseball player. Like
yeah. It's probably too late for the replicas. Like they've probably already printed. They're probably already sending those out to market.
yeah.
But they will correct the MLB jerseys if there is a
Well,
significant push.
the Players Association, like Tony Clark
Yeah,
and those guys, they're like, this is not okay, and this needs to get sorted out before the
yeah,
season starts. Like, they're not. The thing is, they're not like directly connected to Nike and Fanatics
right,
and like making the decisions that go into it. The Players Association is not, but like they said, we're connected with the people who are connected to them.
right.
So this is
Well,
going to get figured out
if
regardless.
you're marketing for these companies, for Nike and Fanatics, this is the worst thing you could possibly have. Oh, they're
Yeah,
talking bad about our jerseys. No one's going to buy these now. Because, yeah, if the
yeah,
players don't like them, like usually you hear nothing out of the players. When they switch them, it's like, oh, it's a big deal. You know, when the NFL
yeah,
went from Reebok to Nike, that was a big deal. When you switched a couple years ago from Majestic to Nike, that's a big deal. But if the players don't acknowledge it and they're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, it's just a jersey, cool. Now people will buy the new one. You come out with some new retro, whatever, hometown, whatever classics, and people will buy them. But when they start talking bad about them, that's your worst
yeah.
nightmare for PR.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing is that there's going to be 9 new City Connect jerseys this year too. So like
Tampa,
they're responsible for that. Like Nike and Majestic, like they haven't been fumbling the bag the entire time. Like
yeah,
they've been doing a good job. Like they're responsible for the designing and distribute manufacturing and distributing of the City Connect jerseys. And with 9 new ones on the way this year, you really got to nail it for the players first, and then focus on the fans because like you said, the fans are the ones who are paying the money for them. Like if they don't buy them and these things tank, it's like, well, that there goes a portion of your revenue. So you
yeah.
got to make sure that you're taking care of your fans as well because they're buying more jerseys than anybody else.
You'll find out really quick whether people are into them or not. Probably by the first couple months of the season, it'll be like, oh yeah, numbers are way down, or whatever the case may be. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a bad look, especially when
yeah,
you've
for
had
sure.
really great for probably the last 20 or 30 years. So
Yeah.
which kind of it just stinks. Like yeah, I'm not a fan of like the old like Russell jerseys that were like heavy and like yeah, I get that. You need to advance the technology, but you don't have to compromise with the quality.
No. No, you don't. So yeah, we'll see on that one too. It's an interesting
Yeah,
development.
developing. Yeah, hopefully.
I'd be curious to if they're in stores. I've seen jerseys. It might have been jerseys from last year. They didn't look too different to me, but I'd be curious to see what they actually look like. And I don't know if they were released like very recently, these new ones, or how like when the older models, like when did they stop selling them? Like has it been
Yeah.
like in the last couple months? Did they are these new jerseys like being sold to the general public like right now as of this month? I just don't know when the change happened.
Yeah, I always see a lot of like clearance and stuff like that going on in the off season. So I'm not sure when they're selling off old stock and selling new stock. But
Yeah.
I would imagine if they're selling jerseys right now of current players, it's the new
Yeah.
look because that's when they launched that. It's like, oh, look at our new spring training jerseys, and everyone's just like, these look horrible. They're doing the side by
Yeah.
side, and they're like, yeah, this is not good. But
Well, even the hats too, like the hats, I like the designs,
yeah,
but I don't really I'm not digging the material. I know they kind of go to more of a like lighter weave type material.
I haven't
Um,
felt them yet. They look cool. Like those are new era still. Those the
yeah,
hats are. I feel like they've been doing a good job with creating a good alternate for the spring.
yeah,
Um, and then they use it as like their BP hat all year. But I haven't felt them. They are a little bit. They sometimes feel a little bit cheaper because they're a lighter material.
yeah,
But I would say I like the appearance. I haven't like I'm not physically touching them, but they do a good job of.
yeah,
They brought in the Cubs like alternate bear logo, which is cool.
yeah.
But in Oakland's, yeah, they all look pretty decent. But again,
No,
I'd have to feel it. I wouldn't just buy it off, you know,
no, no, you'd have
Fanatics.
to
No,
test it out. You have to
yeah,
no Fanatics. Yeah,
no,
you'd have to test it
no,
out first.
not a
Yeah,
fanatic right now of Fanatics.
no, nope,
All right, well,
nope, no, sir.
all right, well, hopefully next week we're not nearly as frustrated, but
Hmm.
I can't guarantee that because the Cubs are frustrating.
Hmm.
But we'll see
Yeah.
where the week progresses. We'll actually have some games, which will be fun. We can actually like view some stuff. Baseball is here. We're about a little over a month away. So
Hmm.
I'm just excited to catch some action and see
Yes.
some balls flying. So
Yeah.
it's time. It's time
100%.
time to bring in your players, Jed. Um,
Time to bring them in. Can't wait. I mean, I'm a huge fan of how 2023 ended. It was such a good World Series, and I'm
yeah,
just again excited for all that's going to happen. We have some players who are close to us who we really hope that they do well. We'll be keeping our eye on them again. But yeah, it's just nothing quite like baseball season and the summer and the warmer weather. And yeah, we're baseball junkies in our family,
yeah.
so it's just gonna
The
gonna be
silver
a ride. Can't wait.
the silver lining is we can always root against the Dodgers, and we can
Yeah,
always root for Ryan Noda. So even if
we
the
can.
Cubs disappoint us, there's always something to watch with baseball.
There's something to
You always
watch.
latch onto something. So
Yes,
we
for
will
sure.
certainly do that. So, well, until next week, boots come in pairs. Take it easy, guys.
Peace, y'all.